Welcome back to the Tool Crib. Today we're going to be looking at another keychain multi-tool, and this time it's going to be the Gerber Splice. I just recently purchased this and I've only had it in for a few days, and I will tell you that the price on this is really good. You can get this on Amazon for about $13, a little bit more actually, like $13.70 something I think it was. The retail price from Gerber is about $20, but like I said, you can get it quite a bit cheaper. So it has a good price point. That's one redeeming quality for the Splice. Some of the other, I think the tool set that is within the Splice is not really much to my liking. I think they could have done it a little better. I like the dime because it has some unique tools within it. There's a few things inside the Gerber dime that I really truly like. And I was hoping that it would be the same case with the Splice, but unfortunately it's not so much. Now the scissors on here were pretty good, and I do like keychain multi-tools that are scissor based because plier based keychain tools, they're not very strong, and about the only real use you can get out of them is going to be as a robust pair of tweezers, such as the case of the Gerber dime, and why I like the tip of the pliers on those on the Gerber dime, because they work really well as tweezers. Where other areas, they're just not going to do a lot for you. I mean, I guess they'll work as, you know, there's always certain instances and certain circumstances where they'll come in handy. It's just not to my personal taste. Well, let's get into the specifications for the Splice, and then we'll go through the tool set, and I'll try to explain why I don't really care for the Splice as much as I care for some of these other keychain multi-tools. I've brought in a couple of other keychain multi-tools to set side by side with the Splice so that we can kind of get a visual idea of its overall size. So here on the left is the Leatherman Micra, and on the right is the Gerber dime. Now the overall length on the Splice is going to be a little bit shorter than these other two. It's going to come in at 2¼ inches, or about 57 millimeters. It is going to be quite a bit wider than these others though, at a full 1 inch wide, or 25 millimeters. The thickness is about a ½ inch thick, or about 13 millimeters. That's going to be real comparable to the dime. The dime is right at the same thickness, but it's quite a bit thicker than that of the Micra. And the weight on this is 2½ ounces, or about 71 grams. So a pretty decent pocket size, a pretty good weight for a pocket multi-tool. I'm going to start off today with the scissors on the Gerber Splice. Now, I've heard varying degrees of quality with the Gerber Splice. Some people will say the scissors and the knife blades come out really sharp, work really well, and then other times they are a bit lacking, where they're either not sharp enough or they just don't cut well enough. I can only go by what I have in front of me, and mine seems to work pretty good. So the scissors, first of all, the spring is located in between the two halves, so it's hidden. And that is actually one thing that I really like about the Splice, because it doesn't have the exposed coil spring that you're going to have on the crosscut. Also doesn't have a lever spring that's going to be getting jammed up with lint as it sits in your pocket. So I do like the fact that the spring is concealed. It's going to be less likely to jam. Also, the spring back mechanism, pretty good. It actually is pretty robust, and I like the action on those scissors. Now the scissors do really well on stuff like paper. You can see it just zips right through there, nice and sharp, really no effort at all. And it did pretty good job on paracord. Now I will say that it depends on how you cut with them, or in what part of the scissors. I've found that if I cut up towards the front, it cuts through paracord pretty good, but if I get it closer to the fulcrum, it really struggles, and I'll show you what I mean. So we'll get it out further here. You can see that it really does a nice job cutting that off. But if I move it closer to the fulcrum, it really struggles. The blades kind of want to twist over, and it doesn't want to do a good job of cutting through there. Where if I get it out there again, I'll try it closer to the center and see how it does. It does pretty good there, but if you're trying to get it right into the fulcrum there, it just doesn't cut through paracord very well. But I will say, I'm not going to take points off of it for that, because it does do a nice job zipping right through that paracord. So you just have to be aware of how you're using the scissors as to how well they're going to function for you. Now, when it comes to cutting stuff that's a little bit more rigid, like cardboard, they tend to struggle just a bit, and the reason is because of the design of the scissors. You can see how the back portion of the scissors handle here is not in the same plane as the cutters themselves, and so as you're cutting through, that cardboard kind of wants to jam up against this portion here, and so it has to bend around. You really have to maneuver it correctly in order to get it to cut. It does okay, and for light duty, for light cardboard, it's going to do fine. It does really well on the paper, and it does really well on the paracord, depending on how you cut it. So scissors, I think, are really good on this multi-tool, and I really like the spring mechanism for sure. Now, if we get to the outside tools, this is where some of the things were a little bit lacking for me. This one, however, was not. The knife blade. The knife blade is 1.5 inches long, or about 38 millimeters, and it is flat ground on both sides. It's pretty sharp. It came out pretty sharp out of the factory. A lot better than some of these other keychain tools. Now, it could use a touch-up, but this is kind of your backup or emergency blade, and it does a pretty decent job. Now, on the other side, this is a tool that I don't agree with it being in here. So they have a little serrated blade, which is also 1.5 inches long, and I think they could have done something better here. But first, let's check it out, see how it works. So we're going to try on that same paracord and see just how well it cuts. And it does an okay job. It's better than some of the serrated blades that I've seen come out on other Gerber multi-tools. The pattern isn't bad, and it's decently sharp. Here's my problem with this. I don't think this is the right tool for this multi-tool. What I like in keychain multi-tools is for them to either be kind of personal care based, where they're going to have a decent set of scissors, and I really like scissor based, by the way. Have a decent backup blade, and then tools that are either geared towards personal care or something that's going to be useful. Now, what I mean by that is one of the keychain tools that I really like a lot. There's some things I don't, but there's a few redeeming qualities to it, and that's the Gerber dime. The knife blade on the Gerber dime is really nice. The pliers at the very tip are really nice to use as tweezers. But one of the things that I really like about the dime is the fact that it has a package opener, and also it has that frame integrated bottle cap lifter. So it's quick access. You pull it out of your pocket, and either you flip out your package opener, and you can get through whatever package that you're trying to open up, or throwing back a cold one in the backyard on a hot summer day. And it's non-intrusive, so it's more socially acceptable as opposed to bringing out a big multi-tool to handle that sort of task. I just don't think that this was a good tool to put in here. I would have rather have seen the same package opener that the Gerber that the Gerber dime has. I think that would have been a much better fit. But the knife blade, it's decent. Now on the opposite side, we have a little nail file and a two-dimensional or flat Phillips driver. You can see they have just a bit of a raised portion here, but it doesn't do much. Really, this is just a flat Phillips. It's okay for this multi-tool. I wish that they had designed this a little different so they get better length out of here instead of the way they integrated this other side. I wish this would have been full length, where they put a little better file in here. Probably the same screwdriver head, but it's okay. It's not great. On the opposite side, let's get the little driver out first. We have a little 1/8 inch driver on this side. It's decently sharp, just decently crisp for doing light duty tasks. So this will work well getting into little battery compartments on tools or toys. It's okay. I wish it, again, the same criticism. I wish it had a bit more length that you're going to find with some of these other multi-tools. And then the last tool here we have is a dual tool. And you can see that it's built to, so it goes around and is attached on both sides. So you have a decent bottle cap lifter here. Instead of having a single point to hook onto a bottle cap, it actually uses dual point. So it actually works pretty good. It's not bad. I do prefer the dimes much better, and then it also integrates a a small flat driver up here as well. Because of the design, it takes a little bit away from you for the depth that you can get into some of those battery compartments. So it's okay. It's not excellent. That is, well, except for the keychain. You have a little keychain here to attach it to. That is the extent of the Gerber Splice. So it's a decent tool. I will say a couple things that I do like are obviously the knife blade and the scissors. I think the scissors are probably one of the better scissors on these keychain multi-tools. The only one that really can give it a run for its money so far that I've tested is the Leatherman Micra. And I think the Micra is just a little bit better, but I do like the spring design of the Splice better. I will say that. And the knife blade is probably better than that of the Micra, even though it's a little bit shorter. Again, I don't put much stock into it because I think it's more of a backup blade. I think the tool set could have been better, and for that reason I'm going to grade it a little bit lower. If it had a little bit better tool set, it could creep up as an A grade tool for me, but the quality on the Splice, it just doesn't feel as quality as the Dime does or as the Micra does. I think the scaling has something to do with that, and the fasteners that they use. I'm going to have to bring it back to about a B grade, a mid B grade, and it mostly boils down to the remaining tools. I really don't like the fact that it has that serrated blade in there. I think that could have been changed for something much more useful in this tool. Now, it does carry nice. You don't have really any sharp edges or something that's going to jab into you like you do with the Saw Crosscut 2.0. So it's comfortable to carry. And, you know, with these keychain tools, it's kind of hit or miss whether or not it has the tools that you really like. For me, it doesn't. So I grade it just a little bit lower, but maybe this tool set works better for you. Well, at any rate, this is my review of the Gerber Splice. I hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button, and I'll see you in the next one.